Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We have some breaking news coming out of Ann Arbor tonight as Michigan officially flips the commitment of four-star cornerback Shamari Earls from the Georgia Bulldogs. And obviously, if you're a Michigan fan and you're following the recruiting beat, like we certainly are, you kind of knew this was possible. We've talked about it on the channel a couple of times. Obviously, it felt like this was on the horizon, but certainly nice for this to become official and kind of continue on, frankly, the heater Michigan's been on the recruiting trail, because as much as the on-field success has been a blast covering for Michigan for the last couple of years, you haven't really been able to see that translate into really, really strong recruiting year in and year out. And I think some of that maybe struggles on the trail has contributed to maybe a bit of a down 2024 season where you just weren't able to fill some of those positions. You lose 5 offensive linemen, a handful to the NFL draft. You lose a first-round cornerback. You lose or quarterback. You lose a guy in Mikey Sanderstill, who is kind of an institution for that Michigan program. And it just doesn't feel like you quite had the depth of talent to fill all those gaps and kind of keep the train on the track. So, again, I think you look at what Sherrone Moore is doing in terms of cranking the recruiting up, and whether that's frankly NIL or assistant coaches or whatever else, probably some combination of everything. I think this is the way Michigan needs to recruit moving forward to have more sustained success and be able to carry on those, that 3-year stretch that was awesome for Michigan, but be able to carry it on for more than 3 years and not have these kind of 2024 dips. So, again, to me, that feels like the direction Michigan needs to go in. I think so far from what you've seen from Sherrone Moore, he's been able to do that. You look, recruiting a handful of guys in that top 100 where you've seen Michigan go like whole classes without getting a guy in that kind of range. But he got your Andrew Bablos, your Ivan Taylors, your Andrew Olesh's, Marsh, Shamari Earls, all those kind of guys. I think those are the type of guys that Michigan needs to have, a handful of those in each class. So certainly, to me, a very, very exciting time. Very excited to see what Sherrone Moore can do in the future, especially if he can kind of continue this talent acquisition role he's been on and build something that's much more of a sustained monster in Ann Arbor. So before we get too deep into what Shamari Earls brings to this Michigan program, just wanted to thank all the Michigan fans for the support. You guys know by now, hopefully, that we're huge Michigan fans ourselves. We love talking this program, whether it's on field. Certainly these last couple of years have been a blast talking on field, whether it's on the recruiting trail and coaching changes and maybe the new direction of this Michigan program. We love talking about all of it. So again, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And I just wanted to get into some of the things Shamari Earls, I think, brings this Michigan program in terms of what his skill sets are. And I think the first thing you look at is he kind of has that prototypical athletic profile that Michigan looks for. Big, long, can really run downfield. And I think you look like his skill set sets up to be a really good boundary cornerback where he's got some versatility, where he can not only play really effectively in zone, make plays on the ball, but also just having the athleticism to be this type of guy in one-on-one coverage. So you look, not only does he have the long speed, we kind of knew he had that from his track times, but some of that skill set in terms of being able to flip his hips, mirror wide receivers, get in and out of his breaks, and follow guys. I think, again, those are the things you frankly look for when you're talking some of these longer kind of new age athletic corners. They need to be able to do some of those things. So, again, you see that through his film, and I think that's a really kind of, frankly, important skill set that he brings. And getting into another play here, I think this, to me, shows the ball skills that he has. And, again, some of those developments of the nuances of playing corner, not just being big, strong, athletic, those things that, again, you can probably dominate the high school ranks at. When you get into college, and if you're going to be kind of that guy that I think Michigan's going to project him to be, you need to have a more full skill set. So, again, you see his ability to obviously track the wide receiver, but then be able to make a play on the ball, not run through the pass catcher and commit a pass interference, not keep his hands on, not hold them, but just be able to explode, get his hands on the ball, and make those type of plays. Because, again, that's what Michigan's corner is like. You think about how successful Michigan's been over the past 3 years. Their corners have been able to do that. They've been able to play a lot of that man coverage. They've been able to play in zone, and they get their hands on a lot of footballs, and they don't commit a ton of penalties. So, again, you see some of those traits in Shamari Earls that, frankly, made guys like Will Johnson and some of the other cornerbacks who Michigan's had a lot of success with, so successful through this program. So, in just getting into this last play, this to me is just kind of like the final touch, if you will, on what Shamari Earls' game is. And again, we talk about the longer, bigger athletic corners. Like, can they stick with wide receivers, especially as the play breaks down, and make those type of plays? I think Shamari Earls, again, you see that play break, you see that wide receiver, and that quarterback start getting into that scramble drill. He's able to mirror him really, really effectively and ultimately make a play on the ball, take the ball away. Again, some of those things that it's not just big, long, athletic guy who can run fast down the field. He has some of that polish, some of that ability to play with good agility and explosiveness and be able to mirror wide receivers at a really high level. So, again, I think to me, this is a big year for Michigan to have a really, really good haul in the recruiting class for that cornerback position, because you kind of think about the past couple of years, whether that's going to be a Will Johnson through the draft. You've obviously lost a handful of corners to the transfer portal. Cam Calhoun, obviously the kid who went to Kentucky, I'm blanking on his name, but those type of guys who you've seen leave this Michigan program, I think you needed to build a really, really strong pipeline to kind of put something together for the future. And obviously Lamar Morgan, like, he's really turned into a strong coach, I think, for this Michigan program, especially when it comes to recruiting trail. He obviously did a really, really good job in the portal, really only having a crack at the spring. So you saw him bringing a lot of talent there. You're starting to see him put together a really, really good secondary class. And again, I think this was a big year to be able to put that class together because, again, aside from Josiah Edmond and Jair Hill, you don't have a ton of that blue chip talent in that cornerback spot that I think can lead to a more sustained success in that room that has really helped springboard Michigan into that kind of elite team, as you can stop teams like Ohio State, stop a team like Washington, hopefully be able to stop a team like Oregon, who's kind of putting together some real talent through that wide receiver and quarterback position. So, again, I think this is a really, really good year for Michigan to bring in a handful of really good players. And obviously kind of the icing on the cake would be Grayson Littleton. I know we talked about him a little bit earlier today, but just decommitted from Clemson, got to be at Michigan tomorrow. Again, I think I wouldn't mind seeing 3 really good cornerbacks, frankly, coming through this class because, again, that was probably one of those positions you were looking at, needed to fill that pipeline up a little bit. So, again, you bring in a big dog like Shamari Earls. You have, obviously, Sanders already in the class. If you can get Littleton, I think you look – that position group probably goes from a question of how deep it's going to be and what the top end talent's going to be to a position you'll have a lot of frankly confidence in moving forward, especially as Jair Hill kind of emerges into a guy you can really believe in, and hopefully Edmond can develop at a high level, and then behind him these guys in this 2025 class. So again, I think very exciting time to be a Michigan fan at the end of the day. Really, really good pickup. And certainly hope to continue some of that momentum as you obviously have your shot at guys like Bryce Underwood or Owusu Boateng, a couple more of those big names to kind of round this class out and really kind of put something special together going forward. So, again, we'll certainly be covering all that as it kind of unfolds, and hopefully you guys continue rocking with us because we love talking it. We love all the support. So we'll see you guys later.